When performing arithmetic in Java, you'll have occasion to mix data types. For example, where you have a line of code where you're using integers with doubles, perhaps. In some cases that's okay, and in some cases the compiler will complain. Let me show you a couple of simple examples. We're going to begin with the program where we declare a double variable dnum, and then we declare a integer variable num and assign it the value 2. Then we're going to assign the value of num to dnum and then display the value of dnum. So let's compile this program. We'll save it first, then compile it. Clear my screen. And you'll see that the value of dnum is 2.0, even though we assigned num the value 2. The compiler will convert the integer value 2 to the double value 2.0 when we assign the integer value to the double variable. So when you're going from integer to double, that mixing is allowed. But now let's turn the tables a little bit. Let's declare int num and then set double dnum equal to, then assign dnum to num. Now watch what happens when we compile. Let's compile, and there's an error. The error reads, possible loss of precision found double required int, and then it highlights the variable dnum. And that's because when you're going from a double variable to an integer variable, there's a possible loss of data. The fractional part that the double stores can't be stored in the integer variable. So for example, going back to our program, if we'd assign dnum the value 2.2222 and then tried to assign that to num in this line down here, then it would have lost this part of the number. The computer is doing us a favor by not allowing us to go from a wider data type, double, to a narrower data type, integer. Now let's look at one more example, and here's a conversion that can occur. Let's create an integer variable num, then let's create a char variable c and assign it the value z, that's the letter z. Then let's assign c to num. Here we're going from char to integer. Then let's display the result. Let's save and compile. Then run it. It displayed 122, but that's because char variables store the ASCII value of the character that's being assigned to it. So when you assign the variable z to the char variable c, you're actually storing the ASCII value 122. 122 can be stored in an integer variable, so when we assign the value of c to num, that's perfectly acceptable because we're putting the ASCII value, which is an integer, into an integer variable, which is accepted. So the bottom line for mixed math in Java is to never go from a wide data type to a narrow data type. So in other words, trying to store a double in an integer is not allowed, but it's perfectly okay to store an integer in a double. The compiler will just convert the integer to a double value and then store it in the variable. And then we can of course store chars and integers because a char is only storing an ASCII or integer value anyway. That wraps up our discussion of mixed math in Java. And in the next video, we're going to perform an exercise where we convert some formulas into Java code.